All right, well, we have a very special treat for you. In the studio, we have Freddie Villano, the creator of Civic Players' The Spirit of Christmas, which is a reimagination of Charles Dickens' very famous Christmas Carol. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Of
or
course.
Having me, and by extension, Civic Ensemble.
Yeah, of course. So can you tell me a bit about the show?
It is loosely based on Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. It started over the summer, this past summer. We started doing some of the experimental devising work and showed an excerpt of that piece at the Ithaca Commons grand opening. Due to certain time and budgetary constraints, rather than actually do a reimagining of A Christmas Carol, we decided to stick with the work we were doing at that time. Mm-hmm. The work was supposed to evolve in several different stages. So what people see next week at the Kitchen Theater may not evoke Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, but it has an underlying element of that supporting the work that we're doing.
How would you say it has that element in it?
We took a few things into account in terms of inspiring the work that we were doing. So one of them was the idea behind Dickens' work is this humanitarian crisis that was happening in London at the time. We also did some research at the History Center about what was going on in Ithaca around the turn of the century in the West End, and what was called Silent City in the Rhine was filled with squatters, and there was a humanitarian and housing crisis at the time then. So those things influence the work, but where we're at right now in the trajectory of the whole piece, the other layer of it is the types of mask that we're working in. They're called larval masks, and they are called larval masks because they're like the larval turns into the butterfly. In actor training, the larval precedes character, really. So the other element of the work that we're doing is really, for me, is training actors who don't have a lot of experience in mask work, taking them through a process that enables them to experience what it's like to work in these very confining masks, because they limit your sight pretty much, is the your main faculty that you don't have access to. So you have to find other ways of communicating and other ways of relating to one another, which is physical gesture. So you're going to see a lot of that this weekend. Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about the cast?
So they're all Ithaca College students or alums. Brianna Ford and Daniel Gezzi are both in it, and they are BFA acting majors, and they are a class of 2016. Alyssa Dirksen is a BFA alum from the class of 07. And then there's myself, Freddie Villano, who is I'm a graduate of the Del Arte School in Blue Lake, California. So it's the Del Arte. Their curriculum is based on this kind of work that you're going to see: mask work, actor-created work, devised work.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how would you say the idea first came to you to develop this show?
Well, there's a couple of things. I wanted to do, I've had this idea to do an annual show, an annual Christmas show for a while, because I'm also a musician. And, maybe about 10 or so years ago, when I was still in undergrad, before I even went to Del Arte, I happened to be friends with some guys who started Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, of course.
So they asked me to audition for that, and I turned it down because I really wanted to finish college. And, hindsight is 20/20. I've never been asked back, but it gave me the idea. It planted the seed to do, an annual show of some sort, to do something like that. But what I wanted to do was something more theatrical. So theirs is, they have a theatrical element to music. Mine is theater with live music. So hopefully, with Civic, we have the opportunity to continue developing this, and it becomes, we're hoping to create like an annual Christmas show for Ithaca.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
Yeah.
So when we were talking before, you mentioned this. Would you say that the piece is more improv-based? It's not scripted?
It's absolutely. The development of it is improv-based, but we do what we script is we call it a physical score. So we basically write out blocking, and then we leave moments. They're called lazzi in Italian, which means it's a moment for improv. So you could say, character A walks on stage, character B walks on stage. They see each other, and then, here's where a lazzi takes place. So that they're kind of free to explore that moment. And then, there is some structure there where you have a button on the end of it where they come back together, and then there's more blocking. So we call that a physical score. And if you look back in history at an art form called commedia dell'arte, that's basically how their stage instructions are written out. They're physical scores that allow room for improvisation.
Nice.
There's no fourth wall here either, so the characters can interact with the audience.
Smash that fourth wall. Gotta love that.
Yeah.
Now, what are the costumes like? Are they Christmas themed at all, or just nah?
If anything, they're more. Well, there's some Christmas theme, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of cheesy Christmas sweaters probably and stuff like that. But
gotta love a good Christmas sweater.
But we're playing with this idea of time and place too. So as much as it's influenced by Dickensian England or turn of the century Ithaca, because these masks are so magical, they're not really grounded in a specific era or geographical location. So we're less concerned with having period piece costumes. So you'll see everything from a kitschy Christmas sweater to something that may look a little bit more formal in terms of an overcoat and, gloves and hat that somebody may look like an English gentleman, to a hobo, kind of ripped up suits and clothing and stuff like that. So
very cool. Well, it sounds like a really interesting production. I'm sure our listeners are wondering how they can see the show, where, when.
Yeah, it will be at the Kitchen Theater this weekend, Friday night at 7 o'clock, Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. There's 2 shows, 2 in the afternoon and again at 7, and then Sunday 4 p.m. matinee.
Wonderful. So go check that out if you can, and thank you so much for coming on the show,
Yeah, thanks
Freddie.
for having me. I
appreciate
appreciate
it. Yeah, of course.